Welcome to the channel. So today I'm making Italian herb bread, absolutely delicious and really easy to make. So this is by far my favourite Italian herb bread recipe. From the Malat range of herbs and spices, this particular recipe uses the Italian seasoning from the Malat range. So this is of course the Malat YouTube cookery channel, so we do like to help customers of Malat, but we also like to cater for everyone if we can. So as a substitute, if you can't get hold of the Malat Italian seasoning, you'll need 2 teaspoons of a really good quality Italian dried herb mix, a pinch of salt, pinch of pepper, half a teaspoon of garlic powder. As usual, a full list of ingredients will be given at the end of the video. Let's have a look at those ingredients now and any other equipment we're going to need for today. So the ingredients for today, but first just explain, I'm wearing some very noisy disposable catering gloves. I've injured my finger on the left hand doing DIY. These are the only gloves that will fit over that dressing. Obviously, if you're not as clumsy as me, you don't have to wear gloves for this particular recipe. So the ingredients, I've got 600 grams of strong bread flour, 6 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, a teaspoon of sugar and a teaspoon of salt, 10 grams of the Malat Italian seasoning, or the whichever seasoning mix you're going to use, 7 grams sachet of fast action dried yeast, and 360 millilitres of fluid, which is made up of 180 millilitres of warm water and 180 millilitres of cold milk. So I'm going to be using a food mixer with a dough hook attachment, just a lot easier for me to make bread like that, and to tell you the truth, the results seem to be a lot better than hand mixing. So in our mixing bowl I've got the 600 grams of flour, the sugar and salt go in, just going to mix that in. Our Italian herb mix. Again, sorry for the noise from these gloves, I really wish I didn't have to wear them. And our dried yeast. Once all the dry ingredients are in, then goes in the oil. And just give the oil a mix in. Okay, so this is a really cheap mixer and it is quite noisy, so I'll just explain what I'm going to do before I actually switch it on. So we've got our liquid, going to be pouring that in on a low speed setting for the mixer, about 2 on this particular mixer. I'm going to introduce the liquid until the dough comes together. I'm going to increase the speed to about 4, which is halfway. What I'm looking for is, I'm not going to add all of the liquid all together. Obviously I'm looking for the hydration, and one of the ways I've got a good indication of when I get to the right hydration with regard to using a food mixer is that on a medium speed setting or lower, the actual dough will catch on the bottom of the bowl, but when we increase that speed past the center number and then up towards the highest numbers, that dough will then lift off the bottom of the bowl. If it doesn't lift off the bottom of the bowl, then the hydration is slightly too much, so we'll add a little bit of flour. And at low speeds, if it lifts off the bowl, then we're going to add a little bit more fluid so that we get the correct hydration. That's always, when I'm looking for the standard hydration for bread dough, that is my indicator rather than getting rid of all of the fluid. Right, so I just want to turn this off while I talk. So now that I've got the dough to where I want it to, where it's lifting off the bottom of the bowl at higher speeds, I'm going to put it on a medium speed setting and leave it now for 10 minutes. Right, so next thing I'm going to do is get the dough out onto a lightly floured work surface. Okay, so this is our dough. Not the easiest thing to handle with these gloves on, but I've just put some olive oil onto the gloves as well. So once we've got the dough out, next thing to do is I've already put some olive oil around the sides of the bowl, using the same bowl that we mixed in. Got that into the centre. Going to cover this now with cling film or food wrap and leave it for about 40 minutes until the dough doubles in size, and obviously in a warm part of the house. Right, so we've got our dough doubled in size. What's to do is just take it out. So in bread making, the next stage is called knocking back, and all we want to do is just take out any really large air bubbles so that we don't end up with massive voids in the finished bread. Now, just handling the dough is more than enough in most cases to do the knocking back stage. So I'm looking to make some small sub rolls. So I'm going to divide this dough into about 150 grams each, which I'm going to do now. So I weighed out all of the dough, had a kilo of actual dough in the ball, so I've managed to get 7 of these roughly 150 gram portions out. Over here I've got a oven tray which I've floured, started to shape the dough. So the way I do it, I found it quite impossible to do it with those disposable gloves on, so I'm just going to use one hand to roughly show you the technique. But there are a number of different ways to shape rolls. So first thing I do is sort of create a claw, no dough on the actual work surface, and what I'm doing is resting the heel of my hand on the work surface and just going around in a circle, and this dough is moving around as well, just to create some surface tension, and from there just a little bit of flour, and then just continue to roll the dough until you get the desired shape. This is not the best method, but just being able to use one ungloved hand, this is about the best I can do at the moment. So once we've got our dough shaped onto the tray, a little bit of olive oil just on the top of each piece, and then I'm going to cover this whole tray with food wrap or cling film and leave these rolls to rest for about 20 minutes, and the olive oil just stops the food wrap from sticking to the rolls themselves. Okay, so now I've removed the cling film. These are now ready to go in the oven. The oven has been preheated to 190 degrees centigrade. Really important with cooking, but especially with bread baking, that you get that oven up to temperature before the bread actually goes in. So these are going to bake for between 20 and 25 minutes. Obviously I'll keep an eye on it, and those times really are just a guide. All depends on your oven, how efficient it is, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot more efficient than mine is. So 190 degrees centigrade, 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, the bread should be done. Actually took 25 minutes to bake. So the next thing, and a really important step, is I'm going to take the bread from the oven tray onto a wire rack and leave it to cool completely. If you don't allow bread, cakes, biscuits, that type of thing to cool on a wire rack, it will sweat underneath. Smells absolutely fantastic. This also shows, I think, how really important it is to put a flour base onto the tray, no matter how good the non-stick tray is. Sometimes this type of bread can stick. So there you go. So there you go, Italian herb bread recipe. Really delicious and so simple to make. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you've enjoyed this particular video, hit the like button. Thank you very much for watching.